Tony East here with Forbes, still in Gainbridge Fieldhouse, so the Pacers just got a win that they desperately needed, beating the Celtics. Epic game. It shouldn't have been what it was, and we have a lot to get to. They're cleaning up in here, so apologies for any extra noises that are going on, but there was a lot of loud noises earlier because there were a bunch of epic, huge plays in this game for the Pacers to get it done in overtime over the Celtics. This game went to overtime, and that alone is a huge story and a big part of the game. Pacers were up 21 points in the fourth quarter. In fact, late in the fourth quarter, 8 minutes and 40 seconds to go, and the Pacers are up over 20 points. That should be a lock, a guaranteed win just about every night in the NBA. The score at the time, 112-91. In fact, with 6.5 minutes to go, they were up 19 at 115-96. Every turn suggested this should have been a game that they had in hand, and yet Celtics slowly chip at it, get it to 13 with just under 5 minutes to go, then get it to 10 for the first time with 3.5 minutes to go, and yet they were still down 9 with 2 minutes to go. Somehow, just the perfect storm of crap from the Pacers with turnovers and fouls gets this game into overtime, which looked like it was headed for just a disastrous night for this team that has reached this point several times this season, right? Against Philly, up late, up 5 in the final minute. Turnovers, they can't get it done. Against Orlando, right there in the final minute, tied there, can't get it done. Banchero's too much. Like, they've been so close and unable to finish so many times that it gave no one confidence in this building that this would be a win. We were talking to Tyrese Halliburton in the locker room after the game. He said, I kind of felt, I get why a lot of people feel that way when the games get to overtime after you give up such a huge win. And yet, Halliburton hits a huge three to start the overtime scoring, and while there was, I think, the first time since the first quarter of this game, a Celtics lead late with 40 seconds to go. Derek White scored to give Boston their first lead in ages. The Pacers were able to answer via Pascal Siakam, who just had an epic game. He scored only 3 seconds after Derek White gave the Celtics the lead for the first time with a turnaround jumper, putting the clock into play as the Pacers ended up finding a way to get it done. And they did not necessarily deserve to have this game in overtime given the way they played for the last 8 minutes, but they didn't deserve to have this game in overtime given the way they played for the first 40 as well. So 40 minutes of good play should net you a good win, and it did for the Pacers in this game. Beating this Boston team is no easy task. They're the best shooting team in the league. They took 57 threes in this game, top offense and defense for much of the time, but for the Pacers a lot of stuff stood out. They worked on their rebounding and diving for loose balls and drills earlier in the day, and that turned out to be huge. Pacers win the rebounding battle by 4. That ended up being a big deal because between free throws and shots, they were able to keep up in the possession battle in ways that they not necessarily have been able to all season long. They were diving for loose balls like crazy. In fact, one of the biggest plays of the game, Ben Shepherd fights for a rebound in the final minute, gets a jump ball. He should have had the rebound and a foul. Rick Carlisle was very unhappy, but he gets the jump ball and wins said jump ball against Peyton Pritchard, and that gave the Pacers their chance late, which Pascal Siakam, of course, hitting a 3 in the final seconds to get it done. So that practice for the Pacers really paid off. That's something they've been struggling with all season, is that rebounding loose ball element. Turnover is still a problem for the Pacers, but the raw number doesn't do it justice since overtime came into play. So that was a big part of this, but the stories, plural, leading for the Pacers getting this win and getting air quotes back on track would be the 2 studs that stepped up for them in a huge way today. One being Siakam, who we just talked about, his 5 points in the final minute to give the Pacers the win. He's been awesome all season. For my money, the best Pacers performer all year, and they needed everything he could give today. He had 6 threes, tying his career high. That's 18 of his 29 points right there. He did finish with 29. He made 5 twos. He had a free throw. Could have had a 30-point game if he had even just a normal night from the foul line. He struggled there. But 11 rebounds as well, 5 of them on the offensive end. So he's really finding ways to be a weasel, a poacher, what have you, in the lane. And 5 assists. He's done a good job moving the ball all season and did again in this game. Siakam was incredible, and the Pacers needed every single thing he could give to get this win, and he gave it to him. And he was also very good on the defensive end. Matchup data doesn't come in for the NBA box scores until typically a day or a day and a half after game's end for them to log all that stuff. But Siakam guarded Jaylen Brown throughout the game. Jaylen Brown 11 for 30 on his way to 25 points. He guarded Tatum throughout the game. Tatum did play very well, but Siakam made it hard on him. He was sensational, best Pacers player in this game. They needed him. Who else the Pacers needed was Ben Mathurin, who they've needed him at times this season. In fact, his 2 best games are their 2 wins, but with Andrew Nembhard out, he played the first 5 minutes and had a knee tendonitis issue that held him out the rest of the game. They needed Ben Mathurin and a lot of him. Mathurin starting the second half, starting the overtime period, and he was sensational. He drove to the rim and earned 11 free throw attempts. He was one away from half of the Pacers' free throw attempts in this game. He hit 2 threes, 4 assists on nice passes. Right early in this game, what kept Mathurin on the floor was not his scoring, even though it was great. It was the ball movement and his defense. He defended very well in this game, and his rebound ended up being huge. 11 rebounds for Ben Mathurin. He's a very good rebounder for a guard. And he had 30 points on top of all this stuff that I just waxed about. 30, 11, and 4 for Mathurin. 4 turnovers. He didn't like that, but something he's been working on and that he did in this game, he just moved on to the next play. Didn't sulk over his errors, didn't let it affect him in ways that maybe it would have in the past. He looked awesome all night, and 59 combined from Siakam and Mathurin was absolutely huge. And yet tons of other very necessary and helpful double-digit scores for the Pacers worth talking about. Tyrese Haliburton, another double-double for him, second one in a row with 17 and 12. He's looking much more involved and effective as a passer recently. And he told us after the game, right, he was 7 for 19 for 17 points. He's going to keep shooting. He's going to shoot until he gets through this shots not going in slump. He just views it as just that, shots not going in. He's going to keep taking them until they drop. Tonight, 7 for 19, 2 for 10 from deep, but he did have a majorly massive 3 to start the overtime period, and he had a huge jumper late in regulation to put the Pacers up by 3 in the lane. They needed both of those, and obviously 12 assists is a major deal from your best ball handler, who also only had 1 turnover. So good night from Haliburton. He was +9. They were much more effective with him out there despite his off-shooting night. 18 for Obi Toppin, who continues to have major scoring performances. He hit 2 threes and mixed in some free throws. And McConnell added 10 points as well, working his way back with way more minutes than he got down in Orlando. Among the starters, Isaiah Jackson started. Like Nembhard, Pacers were basically down 2 starters. We learned before the game, Miles Turner, ankle thing. He couldn't play. Isaiah Jackson has to fill in as the starter. Remember, James Wiseman is out for the year with this Achilles injury, so they need everything they can get from Isaiah Jackson, who had foul trouble. 6 fouls, he ends up fouling out, but he was awesome in his 25 minutes, 10 points, 5 rebounds, major threat on defense with 2 steals and 2 blocks. That's his second great, wonderful game. This time they do win. In Orlando, he was sensational. They did not win. He's had a great season so far. Pacers had to get creative with bench lineups that had like Jarris Walker and Obi Toppin as the front court. They played a lot of Siakam Toppin as the 4-5, and Obi Toppin's defense as the center isn't, especially against the spread out Celtics, is tough, but they were able to survive those stretches, and Isaiah Jackson as the lone center was really, really good in this game. And the last double-digit score, and a guy who'll go unheralded because he also fouled out, 8 boards, 3 assists, 1 turnover, 12 points, hit half his threes, ex-Celtic Aaron Nesmith. In general, they needed everything they got from everybody in this game to get it done. They obviously shouldn't needed the extra period after being up so much late in regulation, but the Pacers, after their 1-3 start, snap a 3-game losing streak, beat the defending champs in a game that they needed badly. It did not feel like the momentum was going to go their way, but they found a way to get it done. Siakam, tremendous. Mathurin, tremendous. We'll be back after Pacers Pelicans on Friday. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. See you soon.